The Shredder event dungeon is out, and with that the first tournament is also out right now, so in this video I'm gonna try and help you beat this new boss with ease, and I'll tell you everything you need to know about the boss, what champions you might want to bring, what solo strategies are out there, so you guys have a much easier time farming this event if you decide to do so. If you find the video helpful and think I've earned your subscription, a like and subscribe would really be awesome, and don't forget to check me out live on stream each Tuesday and Thursday, where I do free account takeovers for you guys, so you guys can enjoy the game more. Now let's get into it. The event dungeon is giving the new Chronophage set, and I gotta say, the set doesn't really look anything to write home about if we gotta be completely honest. It does have its niche use case scenarios, and having 3 pieces of accessories definitely ain't the worst thing in the world, but I wouldn't be going too far out of my way to be farming this one if we gotta be real. For completing the whole thing, you are gonna get yourself 25% HP, which is literally nothing. 10% extra speed is okay, I guess. 80 extra res is okay too, and the new immutable stack is okay at best. Like, it's quite the niche thing to be building for your champions. I guess it could work nice on Arena and whatnot, because it will prevent champions like Armans, Fabian, Yameko and so on, and other cooldown increasing champions, so they don't actually put your skills on cooldown. But really, are we gonna build our champions because of that? I don't know. I myself, probably not so much. Aside from that, it's actually not the worst idea in the world to still farm this thing, because right now we do have Dungeon Divers event with quite a lot of points we're gonna need to get, and also the new Shredder tournament is out there, which is not giving anything critical, but getting yourself an extra medium stone, not the worst thing in the world. And I'm pretty sure at some point later on they are gonna release an event with this guy with things like prism crystals, or maybe soul essence for summoning some targeted soul stones later. I don't know, something along those lines probably, and who knows, they might actually even buff the Chronophage, so here's the hope. Again, emphasis, this tournament is definitely not required for you to be doing it, especially if you're saving your resources and energy for things like the other important dungeons we will need to do for the fusion right now, but if you want to, it's definitely not the worst idea in the world. If you are trying to complete the tournament and you're not that far into the game just yet, stage 16 is actually a pretty decent place to be farming relatively easily, but if we gotta be completely honest, stage 20 is usually the best place to do so, because it gives you 5 and 6 star items. It doesn't give you a chance to be getting 4-star items, which are basically insta-sell right about for anything. So stage 20 is really what you are going to try to farm reliably, but if you're endgame and you're trying to get really good pieces with mythicals and whatnot, stage 30 is going to be the place to go, even though stage 28, 27 even, could be farmable for you. But for most people, stage 20 will be more than enough, and it's actually not that hard of a stage to beat. I will show you a couple of teams I have right now for this thing. They're not exactly perfect or precise for exactly what we need to do. One of them is with nothing but epics, the other one is endgame. In the end of the day, this is basically the most endgame piece of content right now. It's not supposed to be easy, it's actually supposed to be challenging for right about anybody, even Kraken somewhat. Not so much challenging, more so they are gonna need to be creative about how they're gonna tackle it, but yes, it is actually supposed to be downright hard. Stage 20, however, is pretty doable, especially given the fact that the ads in this fight are gonna be nothing to write home about. It's just a bunch of epics, so they're really not as hard to tackle. This right now is my endgame team. I also built something real quick with a bunch of epics just to prove a point. Right now I'm not proving anything because these are all +4s, ascended and everything, so a lot of bells and whistles on this one, not gonna lie. But I just threw together a team that actually kind of makes sense, with champions that most people should actually have. Not at +4, but still, you probably will have access to these champions or something similar, and you will be able to clear this dungeon not that hard, at least on stage 20. For the boss himself, we could go through his skills and the important passives you need to think about, starting off with Rage of Saki. Attacks one enemy 3 times. The second and third hits of this skill will ignore 5 and 10% of the target's defense respectively. The second and third hit of this skill deals 10 and 20% more crit damage as well. The second skill, Shadow Shinobi, attacks all enemies 2 times. Each critical hit destroys the enemy's defense by 5%, and this thing stacks up to 30%, which is kinda broken. Each critical hit also increases this champion's max HP by 5%, also stacks up to 30, and each hit has a 75 chance of placing Leech. For 2 turns, this debuff cannot be resisted if this champion is under Veil or Perfect Veil. Quite the scary stuff, but if you manage to clear the fight nice and quick, it's not really gonna matter all that much. And the third active skill is, this is true ninjutsu, attacks all enemies before attacking, steals all buffs from a single target enemy. This effect cannot be resisted if this champion is under a Veil or Perfect Veil, fills this champion's turn meter by 15% for each buff stolen. This will also ignore 15% of each enemy's defense, as well as shields, block damage buffs. If this this champion is under Veil or Perfect Veil, will ignore 30% of each enemy's defense instead. So yeah, bringing fat defense is not really gonna bring all that much for you, even though it's still gonna be decently important. The passives are where things really become interesting. Starting off with Dimensional Tyrant, passive decreases all incoming damage by 30%. This damage is split equally among all allies, except this champion. Increases this champion's damage dealt by 15% for each dead ally, so if you actually clear all the ads nice and quick, this boy is gonna slap you for 60% extra damage, which definitely ain't no joke. But it's also nowhere near as hard hitting as the last event dungeon boss, so there's that too. This thing also has an active effect. Whenever this champion loses 20% of their max HP in one attack, has a 100% chance to evade the next attack. When this guaranteed evade effect activates, places a Perfect Veil buff on this champion for 2 turns and has a 50% chance of placing a True Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. The True Fear debuff cannot be resisted. We also have some of the obvious passives here. This guy's immune to stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, active block skills, block passive skills, fear, true fear, petrification, berserk, and enfeeble debuff. Also immune to HP exchange effects, HP balancing effects, and cooldown increasing effects. We also have the almighty strength, and with this one, damage from skills that scale based on enemy max HP cannot exceed 5% of the boss's max HP when attacking the boss, meaning that if you're slapping him with your big boy Marius, he's only going to be taking up to 15% damage of his max HP. So this is another way of the devs actually denying the Krakens of actually one-shotting this guy nice and quick, so this definitely is a little bit of a blockage. We also have the Unfaltering Speed. This guy is immune to decreased speed debuffs and turn meter reduction effects. I'm not sure why they just didn't include it in this, but whatever, I guess it's different. We also have Flameproof. Damage from HP burn debuffs cannot exceed 1% of the boss's max HP. It's usually 3%, so if you're planning on burning the boss, it is gonna take a while. And last but not least, here's where things kind of go really interesting. Awakened Weakness decreases the damage inflicted by the boss for each awakened level on the target champion by 2.5% for the first 2 levels and by 5% for the rest of the levels, all the way up to 25%. So basically it is going to be very important to bring awakened champions in this fight if you're having a hard time dealing with it. So even though some of your champions might sound like they're going to be better suited for this fight, if you have another champion that's fully awakened, that's probably going to be your go-to champion. So that guy can be taking 25% extra less damage actually. We also have the increased damage received by the boss for each awakening level on the attacking champion. Again, 5% for the first 2 levels and 10% for the rest of them, all the way up to 50%, guys. So yeah, again, very important to be bringing yourself awakened guys in this thing. As you see, most of my guys are indeed awakened, and right now this is the stage 20 fight, which is gonna be the place most people really should be farming if they want to be completing this tournament. One important thing you could be doing here would be to use the raid stages tool if you really want to know exactly how much stats you are gonna need here. What you do is go to the raid stages tool from Hell Hades. Here it is. I already selected dungeons, event dungeon, normal, and we select the stage we want to tackle. In this case, stage 20 would be the first reasonable place for most people to farm. And here you can see that the boss and the ads are actually not that quick. The boss is 178 speed, which is borderline slow, and the rest of them are also under 200 speed, so you don't even need to be building some crazy teams to be going first against these guys. The other important pieces of information we need from here is the resistance of the boss and the mobs themselves. So if you're bringing some crowd control debuffers, you will need right around 300 something accuracy in order to be placing those. And if you want to be resisting stuff, 400 resistance is going to be the sweet spot for you. My champions are built fairly well. All of them have some pretty decent stuff. We're not going to be resisting right about anything for the most part, but we do have decent speed, decent accuracy on most of my guys, at least the ones that need to have those. So here's what champions with these kinds of stats are gonna do with the event dungeon. Here they go in action. Really nothing too special. It's just basically a nice little blender comp. We have ourselves a speed lead, we have decrease defense, we have weaken, and we also have Geo for a little bit of extra damage. He's not super needed here, but he could actually be a very great way to actually handle this boss, because the passive is still pretty solid. A very important debuff you could be bringing here would be the block buffs for the champion, because like you guys saw, he is indeed going to be stealing stuff. So it would be best for you to at least prevent him from getting all of your good buffs. But he is still gonna be stealing the buffs from you, which is not great, but could have been worse. He could also be getting all of those buffs. Here we have it, just over 1 minute, and the boss is a goner. But yes, my team right now is a little bit on the crack side. But basically, kind of what you want to be doing here is you want to be bringing something like an arena team, you know? Like something pretty standard stuff, or heck, just a standard dungeon team as well. You have your speed lead that's gonna boost everybody else nice and quick so they don't have to be as quick. We're gonna debuff everybody with decreased defense as well as block buffs. And also, Ugo is a champion you could be grabbing from my download link right now, guys. If you still haven't tried Raid, grab the game from my download link. And that's gonna give you 4 amazing champions, including Ugo, who is still to this day probably top 5 best epics in the game. And you're also gonna have 24 hours to use one of the promo codes, which could give you things like Wukong, like the Hanorok, like Alice, Folan, that kind of stuff, and all of those champions are actually pretty amazing against this event dungeon as well. Anyway, back to what the team consists of. We have Gio in here, mainly for the passive, but honestly, we could just remove him for right about anybody right now. Some other straight up damage dealer probably is gonna do us better here if we gotta be completely honest. We have Rector Draft as well, just for the sake of if things go sideways, she can revive somebody. Has healing, so that's not too bad. And we have Magnar for some straight up damage, so we can clear everybody a lot quicker. Bringing a crowd control champion instead of Gio, or heck, maybe even instead of Rector Draft, could also be a pretty good idea. Like if you have yourself a good stunner, a good freezer, that kind of stuff, you could definitely bring somebody like Cryodan. He will be able to freeze all of those nice and good. A provoke champion like Husk, let's say, that can be pretty awesome. Mistreated monster could be bringing the stun here instead. All kinds of different things could be happening here, and the fight is still gonna be not that hard. Moving down to the harder stages, however, things become 0 to 60 real freaking fast, because after stage 21, things go very differently. Here, the boss starts getting some proper champions alongside him, but they're still not gonna be that scary if we gotta be completely honest. I'm pretty sure that my epic team still should be capable to fight these nice and good. They will be a little bit quicker, however. But yeah, let's see how the fight goes. Okay, the defense here is a lot bigger. My Magnar did not manage to make a dent here, so things are actually looking kind of scary, not gonna lie. The Geo passive is doing some good stuff, but we definitely need to get rid of these ads before things go sideways. Okay, Magnar kicked the bucket, that's never a good sign. It's gonna be a little bit on the bare bones side, but I think we're still gonna be able to handle it thanks to Geo. Yep, seems like it, seems like it. There we go. Okay, that was a little bit scarier. And let's not forget, my champions are far from epic quality right now. They're looking pretty crazy with all that gear and whatnot. They're not in the best gear, but still, things are looking a lot more shaky here with the different champions, but still not the hardest out of the lot. After stage 25, things become even harder because now here we get to see some real proper champions like Krisk, like Jingwan, and all of those will be a lot harder to deal with. So here I'm just gonna be bringing my proper endgame team just to show how the fight goes. And again, it's not the most proper team. For instance, my Odin is in a stone skin set even, I didn't bother to change it. Marius definitely is cracked out as much as can, it's a 9-piece merciless set as well. Lydia is in a 9-piece protection, so that's pretty good. Wukong is mostly in merciless, 7 pieces I think, and we have Glaciad in protection. And all of my champions are fairly quick, fairly stacked, so yeah, end game piece of content here, so don't be surprised if we're using end game piece of champions for sure. Here's how the fight goes against these guys. The problem here is Jingwan cannot really get controlled. His passive is basically immune to all types of crowd control, so he will be slapping us, but I still believe we should be able to slap him nice and good. Maybe even Marius is gonna take care of him before things hit the fan. And the other problem is Krisk with her passive. It's a little bit too much. The provoke also ain't no joke, so yeah, let's just see how the fight goes. Okay, Jingwang did not get stunned, obviously, because of the immune. Let's see if Marius takes care of him nice and quick. He does. Wukong with the block buffs for the opponent, and from here on out, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. If you don't have a champion that clears the mobs nice and quick, then you're gonna have a really rough time, but if you have yourself something like a Seer, that's also gonna work very well, even though you are gonna have to build Seer very properly, like 300 plus crit damage for real. So yeah, not the easiest fight, but it's not meant to be easy. And on the last fight, we do have on stage 30 a really proper team here. We have Harima, we have this guy, which is absolutely broken, Tetsuya, and this guy is fast as hell, and also with his passive and whatnot, turn meter boosting himself and whatnot, he can be quite the menace with bringing True Fear and whatnot. Very disgusting champion, not to mention they are all very quick. Here's what the situation looks like on stage 26, the one we just fought with Krisk and Jingwon. Those were 228 on the boss, 250, 260, 270 even on Jingwon's speed, so definitely very quick. And you also need to have above 400 accuracy to be landing your debuffs and CCs and whatnot. Resistance goes above 500, all of that. But on stage 30, it's even harder. Here now we're looking at 258 on the boss's speed, and 275, 300 on frickin' Shuzen, and 266 on Tetsuya, so you need to be very quick and very careful, because this guy does get turn meter fill when you turn meter fill yourself. It's also not as effective, so pretty disgusting stuff. But as you're about to see, the fight is not that hard if you have the proper champions with the proper gear. Here again we have a very quick Odin, so we can stun this bad boy before he starts doing bad boy things. There we go, Odin does his thing. You could also change Odin for Armans, by the way. Armans is a lot more accessible for most. I wonder if even Fabian is gonna work well here. Maybe it's worth a shot. This way at least they're not gonna be doing their active skills and whatnot. But yeah, the rest is basically a nice little dungeon team. Lydia is super good, because getting the decreased defense and weaken at the same time, very awesome, while giving yourself increased speed and whatnot. Wukong here is gonna be our black buffs champion. Marius still handles the waves nice and quick, but as you see against the boss, he's capped at 200 damage per, so it's not really that amazing. And also another interesting thing to note, this boss is HP based, so bringing something like decreased attack against him is not gonna do you all that good. Oh, look at that, Marius kicked the bucket. Well, this is gonna take a little bit longer, but Wukong has us covered still. And there you have it, 1 minute run, pretty reliable. Let's actually slap in Fabian, see if he works instead of Odin, because that would be lovely. Let's see how that goes. Resist is weak. What the hell? My Fabian has like 500 plus accuracy, I'm pretty sure, but yeah, this is gonna be a fail in it. Definitely feels like a fail to me, because this guy also did the fear. It is just not gonna happen. Unless we get very lucky with the true fears, but even then, kinda doubt it. Yeah, we got feared on Marius, that ain't great. Doubt. Okay, at least we block buffed. I guess this is also weak affinity against this guy, so that's never a good idea. So yeah, I guess for stage 30, Fabian is probably not gonna do us all that good. Okay, Harima did some weak hits thanks to the Marius and Feeble here, that helped a lot, but I'm still not very optimistic about this run. Again, a weak hit. Okay, maybe we are gonna be able to clutch it, but it's far from pretty. Losing our Reviver instantly never is a good sign. Ew. Yeah, no way in hell we're gonna be able to survive for the rest of this. Not like this. Okay, well, that went sucky, but the main part was the bad affinity for Fabian here. He does make sense as a champion, but being bad affinity, that's never a good sign. I also tried replacing Odin with Armans, but it really didn't work that well. On the last stage, this guy is preventing anybody from getting their turn meters moved anyway, so that's pretty big bummer. For me, my team is, as you guys saw, with Odin. and it does work pretty much 100% of the time, I do believe. And from what I hear, people are also using Urost, just like they did in the last event dungeon. Thanks to his passive, he will be able to kill off the boss eventually, but you will still need a monster nukers next to him, something like a very thick seer, in order to clear the ads nice and quick. You will need to be building this guy very tanky with HP and defense and decent amounts of speed, so he does take some turns. Or you could build it in the Defiant set actually, that was the strategy we used on the last event dungeon. But yeah, the stats are definitely gonna be a little bit above average. It is end piece of content after all, so you are gonna have to try hard a little. And the very important piece here would be to get yourself a golden elixir all the way up to 12. 9 probably won't do, you really need to get that extra healing off. I am not using this guy anymore for this piece of content, but I still have okay-ish looking elixir left on him. But I did use 12 elixir on other champions for now, while I'm using those. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video, hope you found it helpful. If you did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and do let me know in the comments what kind of champions you're using for this guy, and if you found some amazing strategies to solo farm it and whatnot. Don't forget to check me out live on stream each Tuesday and Thursday, and download the game from my download link if you still haven't tried the game, or you're thinking about starting a second account, so you can get yourself some amazing champions right out the get-go, and start raid the right way. Thanks for watching, I'm Chris05, and I'll see you in my next video, or stream.